American mother and her 3 children rescued from Afghanistan yesterday. State Department saying it assisted in that rescue, but the organizer of the mission calling those claims absolute nonsense, and that's a quote. Telling Fox News this is an attempt to save face by the administration for the Americans they left behind. They did nothing to try to expedite this. It's like we carried the ball to the 99.5-yard line and them taking it the last half yard and being like, look what we did. End quote. Former acting director of national intelligence, Ric Grenell, with me now. And Rick, good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Blinken's in Doha. He pretty much said, we've been assured again that American citizens and Afghan citizens with valid travel documents will be allowed to leave, and we intend to hold the Taliban to that. To which many would think, good luck with that.
I think I would say, are you crazy? It's really disheartening. I've spent 10 years of my life at the State Department. I care very deeply about the State Department, and Foreign Service officers are furious as to what is happening. The political leadership at the State Department is doing a terrible job. I mean, let's be honest here. Secretary Blinken and Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman sat silent as the decision was made by the cabinet to remove 2,500 U.S. troops, all of the remaining troops, 5,000 NATO troops, before you evacuated the embassy. You left Foreign Service officers there when the U.S. troops left. Now, that's no way to treat employees. I was glad to see Congressman Greg Meeks, New York Congressman, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, call for a hearing next week. Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, will appear before the House committee to answer some of these questions, and I hope the full committee is very tough on why were you so silent, Mr. Secretary of State, when your people were abandoned inside Afghanistan. You sat there while the decision was made to close Bagram, remove the troops, and leave your employees, your State Department employees there. Now what we have is an expectation from the American public, which I don't think is too far off, to say, who's helping these 10%, the 10% of the Americans left? The State Department doesn't have anyone there. They're trying to coordinate all of this from Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Jennifer Griffin's traveling in Germany with General Mark Milley. This is something else coming up on 20 years of 9/11. Here's her question. Listen carefully to the answer from Milley.
The U.S. safer today since the U.S. has withdrawn from Afghanistan?
My military estimate is that the conditions are likely to develop of a civil war, and that will then in turn lead to conditions that could in fact lead to a reconstitution of al-Qaeda or a growth of ISIS or other myriad of terrorist groups. You could see a resurgence of terrorism coming out of that general region within 12, 24, 36 months.
That's a yes. And it's, I mean, the #1 job of the commander-in-chief is to keep the American people safe. What do you make of that answer?
Look, I know General Milley, and I've been highly disappointed that he's being very political. That is an answer to cover yourself for later, now that those warnings are happening. I've also heard him say that General Miller, who is in charge of Bagram, gave advice to shut down Bagram. Now, I can tell you that that's not true. I know that very firsthand information. General Miller did not want to close Bagram, but General Milley said that he did. I know that General Miller made those stark warnings to Jake Sullivan and said, do not close Bagram, and Bagram was closed. Our troops were removed. We left 10% of the Americans behind. Look, the Joe Biden doctrine, the Biden doctrine for the rest of history will be 90% is good enough. And I think that that's shameful, and the American people should not feel safer when they have a president of the United States willing to take 10% of us and leave us.
Well, I've heard nothing but amazing things about General Miller. I've never met him myself. Do you know how many Marines or soldiers he was requesting to keep Bagram, to keep the embassy, and to keep the airport in Kabul operating?
I don't, but I can tell you for sure he warned not to close Bagram. It was not the right thing to do. And his plan, I'm sure, included the exact number that he felt he needed in order to keep the place safe. Now, Bill, look, as you know, Bagram is easier to control, easier
No
to
doubt.
keep safe because it's out. And yet the decision was made by political people, by the political folks, to somehow close Bagram and keep this going. Look, let's be very clear. Donald Trump handed Joe Biden a stable Afghanistan and a functioning State Department. That completely collapsed. What the Taliban heard when Joe Biden took over was that they could take city by city and eventually the whole country and not have pushback.
And so it went. Ric Grenell, thank you for your time.